So when you're beginning your contour landscape drawing, you would first look for the horizon line. If you have a nice straight line that is easy to see, like I had in this one, then I would go ahead and do that. Make sure you look where it's centered on your picture. Is it in the middle? Is it above or below the center? And then go from there. This one doesn't really have a strong straight horizontal line. It's kind of curved. So if you find an image that's similar to this and you don't really have that to go off of to begin with, then just look for the next biggest shape or a strong shape that would be easy to begin with. Like this rounded one here, for me, I think that's going to be easier than maybe this side over here. So I'm just kind of looking at this shape right here and where the bottom of that starts. It's below the center. So that's kind of where I'm going to start. And it doesn't quite, yes, I'm translating the rectangle to the square, but I don't want it to go quite to the center. So, because this is even bigger over here, and then you have the space in the middle. So I'm just going to make sure that it's lower than the center line and it's not quite to the center, and it's kind of a sort of a curved line. And these, these are abstract. They're not going to be exact, but you want to try your best to sort of fit in everything and make it as proportioned as possible. And mine's going to kind of actually go off the page here. That's fine. There's another little rock form up here. This is just the contour lines. I'm not going to include any details in here, but I did just, it's kind of hard to see. I separated it a little bit because I do want another color change. All right, I'm gonna draw this little rock right here. Not sure I'll be able to get that bridge in. And then I can already see I'm running out of room here. I'm just gonna separate this area because to me it looks a little bit different. And again, you wanna look for sort of opportunities like that where you can change colors. They're really simplified. You do want some, you don't just want 5 sections where you're gonna add different colors, then it's not even gonna look like a landscape. It's gonna look really abstract. You do want it to, look somewhat like a landscape too. Okay, I'm gonna make this a different shape right here. And when you're drawing, if you sketch lightly, then you can make changes easily. Like I say a lot. I'm just trying to kind of draw dark right now so you can see on the video. And I'm actually gonna put that bridge in there just so it ties one side to the other. I'm not gonna actually draw the bridge. On the water, I see some different colors here. So again, you're using contour lines. You're separating the shapes and the colors with just a line. So I'm gonna kind of start right up here by the rock. And so I have a separation of color in the water. Same over here. All right, I'm gonna put this other rock formation in the back. Again, you're trying to, go by the picture and make it as close as possible, but it's abstract, so. And then I think I'm gonna leave these trees out because if I kind of draw the outline of those, it's just gonna look, I think, too separated. So I'm just gonna draw this area right there. And the trees, you could add a little more details if you wanted to get the peaks. For me, I'm just gonna do that right now because I'm trying to simplify it for you so you can see really how much you simplify one image or how much you can. And then I'm gonna add just a line for the clouds here too. Watch your lines. You don't want to make them too cartoony. Like, I think I might kind of work on this rock shape because it's just super rounded right here. And same with the clouds. I might kind of work on that, maybe make it not so curvy, to make it a little more realistic, but it's, it would work as well. All right, next step is once you have your pencil lines, you're gonna outline in Sharpie and then paint. All right, so I outlined in Sharpie marker, and I didn't even change my lines to make them, like I said, I wanted to make them a little more rough, less curvy and cartoony, a little more realistic. When I went over it with my Sharpie marker, I just kind of made those changes, just made it a little more rough looking, where the clouds are and also the trees here too. So when you have it outlined, you would erase your stray pencil lines. You still see mine here a little bit. But then kind of start painting maybe in a color that is less of a neutral, maybe more of a saturated color. And then for me, I think it's easier to start with a color and then dull it more from there. So this area is pretty bright blue. So I'm gonna use the blue straight. I'm gonna make a little, just kind of a little color here off to the side. And then I'm just gonna dull it a little bit because we don't want to use any straight color. We want to add its complement to dull it a little bit. So the complement of blue is orange. Rinse my brush, get some orange. Okay, and just mix that in a little bit. You can just test it on another piece of paper if you would like. I'm just gonna go, it looks kind of green here. We'll see what we get. I think I'm actually gonna paint that over to the side because it does look a little more green here. So I'm gonna do this one first. If you want to paint different color values, which means if you want some darker and lighter areas in your spaces too, more water makes it lighter. And then to make it darker, like in this instance, I think I'm gonna add a little more blue to kind of darken it up. And we'll see what some brown does too. The brown, I should have rinsed that out. The brown doesn't always make it darker. Black would do that. Brown, in these watercolors, it's almost a little bit lighter and less, than just the other colors as well. So you could just make some color changes within those shapes too. If you wanted to blend it a little more, you just clean your brush, get most of the water out of it, and just sort of paint where the two colors meet, and that will kind of blend it together. All right, I'm just gonna use that same color that I mixed, add some more blue to get the water right here. If it looks too similar, then don't paint the whole thing. Just change it, paint over it. I think I'm gonna leave it lighter toward the middle, just like you see here, kind of where the sun hits the water. So to do that, I'm just gonna kind of clean my brush a little bit and just sort of fill in the rest of that space. Okay, this side, kind of similar to that. I'm just gonna make it a little bit darker. It does look darker to me. So I'm gonna add a little black to it this time. Again, you can have a piece of paper next to you, a little more blue, so you can really test these out. And I'm gonna add some more orange too. So hopefully this is a little bit darker. Yeah, it doesn't look much darker, so I'm just gonna paint this whole thing And I'm gonna go back and darken it. I'm gonna use black, a lot of black. I wanna see a different value here. You don't want all your colors to kind of blend into each other. You do wanna see, yes, they're muted, but you do wanna see some contrast too, some lights, some darks. So I just added water to my brush, and I'm gonna kind of blend that down into the rest. All right, so you kind of get the idea. Do not use the colors straight out from the palette. They're too intense, they're too saturated. Add the complement to it, a little bit of black or brown maybe, a little bit more water if you want it lighter. But you're just really looking for the color. You're like on this one right here, I did not see all of these colors in the picture I was looking at, but I just saw maybe a little hint of purple, maybe a little hint of pink. And you can just make that whole section that color, a muted form of that color, just so you see some color changes, just give it a little bit of variety, but also still make it look natural and realistic rather than just bright colors right from your palette. So like for these right here, I might start with like a brown color like this. Maybe add, I don't know, even maybe like a little pink to this area. Like I said, you can force it a little bit if you're not seeing the color change. Just, you know, just change it a little bit from the rock or whatever is next to it. All right, to finish, when I was all done, I kind of wanted to balance it a little bit more. This area right here where the trees were, I had this dark just as it is. So I wanted to add that a darker value to kind of spread in some other areas because it just stood out as that being dark with everything else around it being a little bit lighter. So you can see, you know, the colors are not really realistic as you can see here, but they're muted. You can kind of pick out the shapes. These are abstract, so that's what you're going for. The contour lines, the outside lines of the strong shapes in your picture, and then just some color changes. And if you do need to balance it out at the end and change some colors so they all kind of are more unified, then if you need to add more darker areas or the same color, add the same color throughout a few other spaces, you can do that. Keep in mind when you are mixing colors, like I wanted this space right here to be a little bit more oranger. I see some orange spots. Whenever I tried to add blue to it, it just automatically went green. So just because blue is much stronger than orange and the watercolors here especially. So you just want to be careful how much of the complement you add. If you just want to slightly alter the color and dull it down a little bit, you just add a very small amount of its complement if it's a lot darker than the color that you're wanting to dull.